You know that t-shirt you're wearing? Ever stop to think about its secret life before it ended up with you? Seriously, it's a wild story that stretches across continents, oceans, a whole complex web of handoffs. So let's dive into this hidden world, right? Let's unpack the incredible journey of the stuff we use every single day.
So what on earth does a simple shirt's journey have in common with a global relay race? Well, pretty much everything. Think about it. Every single step, every handoff, it's like one leg in this massive worldwide race against time and, let's be honest, a ton of complexity. The whole goal? To get a product from a factory floor all the way into your hands. We're going to follow that race step by grueling step.
Okay, to really get a grip on that race, we first need to look at the invisible engine that makes all of global trade go. It's time to pop the hood and talk about something called international logistics.
So, at its core, international logistics is this powerful science. It's basically the master plan for making sure the right product gets to the right place at exactly the right time and, this is key, for the right price. And this isn't just about t-shirts. We're talking everything, from the phone in your pocket to the raw materials used to build cars.
And you can break this whole complex science down into four main parts, four key functions. First up, you gotta source or actually make the thing. Then you need a place to store it safely, right? After that comes transportation, the actual moving around part. And finally, you have marketing, because people have to actually want to buy it. The thing is, if even one of these steps messes up, the entire relay race just falls apart.
All right, so with that framework in our heads, let's get back to our t-shirt. Let's trace its actual physical path from that factory floor all the way to you. To make this whole thing real, we're going to use a super concrete example. So picture this, a t-shirt. It's fresh off the production line at a factory in Vietnam, and its final destination, a shelf in a retail store somewhere in Canada. The big question is, how does it get there?
First, a really quick definition you need to know. Goods can move in one of two main ways. You've got unimodal transport, which just uses one method. Like a truck driving from point A all the way to point B. But for our t-shirt, its journey is way more complicated. It's multimodal, which means it's going to combine several different types of transport to finish the race. And this multimodal path is where that relay race metaphor really comes to life. So the first leg starts with a truck. It picks up the shirts from the factory in Vietnam. Then, the baton gets passed at the port of Ho Chi Minh City to a massive container ship for that long trip across the ocean. Once it arrives at the port of Vancouver, the baton is passed again, this time to the rail system, or maybe another fleet of trucks for that final leg, the delivery to the store.
But, every relay race has that one tough spot, right? A hurdle that can slow everything to a crawl. In global logistics, that hurdle is the border. This is where the race gets really tough.
You see, the moment our t-shirt arrives in Canadian territory, it's not just a piece of clothing anymore. Bam! It's an import. And it's suddenly subject to all of Canada's laws, its regulations, its inspection procedures. And believe me, this isn't like a simple passport stamp. It's an intense period of scrutiny. So, what does that scrutiny actually look like? Well, officials might physically inspect the goods, open up the boxes. They will definitely go over all the shipping documents with a fine-tooth comb to check for accuracy. Even the shipping container itself gets checked. And this is all being done by multiple agencies. You've got customs, public health, maybe even agriculture, all to make sure everything is safe, legal, and that the right taxes are paid.
Now, our t-shirt's journey is an intercontinental one. It's going from Asia to North America. So all these intense inspections happen at the seaports. For shipments that stay on one continent, say a truck driving from Spain over to Moldova, similar checks happen, but they happen at land border crossings. So the location changes, but the intense scrutiny, that stays the same.
But why? Why do these border crossings sometimes cause such epic delays? It's not just random. There are specific, pretty predictable areas where countries' rules just clash. Let's call them the 5 friction points. Yup, it pretty much all comes down to 5 main areas. 5 points where the rules of one country can totally crash into the rules of another, creating these bottlenecks that can grind the entire global supply chain to a halt.
Okay, so these friction points start with the goods themselves. A label that's perfectly fine in Vietnam might be totally illegal in Canada. Second, you've got services. The shipping company might need completely different licenses to operate in both countries. Third, operations. Things like documentation standards, even traffic laws can be wildly different. Fourth, the vehicles. A truck that meets emission standards in one country might be flat out banned in another. And finally, infrastructure. You wouldn't believe it, but incompatible rail tracks or port equipment can create these massive physical headaches.
Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it sounds like a real mess, right? But the good news is there's a huge global push to solve this, to smooth out all these friction points and just make trade simpler for everyone.
The official term for this whole effort is trade facilitation, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a global initiative to simplify, to modernize, and to harmonize all those complicated procedures that happen at the border. The goal is basically to unclog the arteries of global commerce.
So how do you actually do that? Well, the playbook starts with increasing transparency. Just publish all the rules and taxes so there are no nasty surprises. Next, you align customs procedures with global standards, so everyone is kind of playing by the same rulebook. Also, governments should focus on supporting trade with better infrastructure, not trying to micromanage every little thing. And finally, simplify the rules for goods that are just passing through a country on their way to somewhere else.
And who's leading this charge? Well, the main coordinator, you could say the coach of this whole global team, is the World Trade Organization, or the WTO. They're the ones working with nations all over the world to champion these exact principles.
And the WTO isn't just talk. It has teeth. Let's say a member country agrees to simplify its trade rules, but then doesn't. Other countries can actually file a complaint. The WTO's dispute settlement mechanism acts like a neutral referee to resolve these issues, peacefully, which is so important because it stops them from blowing up into damaging trade wars. It's really all about keeping the race fair for everybody involved.
So the next time you put on a brand new t-shirt or you unbox a new phone, just take a second. Which part of its invisible, globe-spanning relay race are you going to think about? Will it be the truck, the ship, that intense border inspection, or maybe the 5 friction points it had to overcome just to finally reach you? It's a pretty incredible journey, and it's hidden in plain sight all around us.